Welcome to the sideboard here at the Kansas City Open Series. I'm Glenn Jones. I'm here with Corey Grace. Corey, we saw you on camera earlier in the tournament playing definitely one of the most interesting decks, I think, in the room. Immortal Servitude combo. We called it Servitude combo in the air. I think since then, You've Got Served is perhaps a better name. Or got served, something along those lines.
That'd be appropriate. That's what it gets called, is You Got Served.
All right. So why don't you go ahead and talk with us just about the origin of the deck before we dive into how it works.
Origin of the deck, probably me and my friend Scott, or Spanky, we like to brew a lot, and I mean, personally, I've been trying to brew with rats and like pack rat and stuff like that, and loving the opportunities that Immortal Servitude gives you, and just love all kinds of different brew ideas. And so just exploring all the different sweet 2-drops that are in the format right now and their synergies, and then it just grew, and there was a lot of testing and development, but just trying to build around Immortal Servitude.
Okay.
That 2-drop spot.
So how did the deck start out looking as opposed to how it is now? Were there any cards that you thought would make the cut that didn't? Any 2-drops that showed up later in testing?
A lot of these are original, like Elvish Visionaries, Fogbanks, Alchemist Apprentice. Augur Bolus was in limbo for a while because I'm not sure if it showed up in the video, but Augur misses most of the times. There's only 10 instants and sorceries in the deck, but it's really important to find those Immortal Servitudes.
Yeah.
And then it's nice to find the removal spell you need or the sideboard cards that you bring in. Ambush Viper, actually, was a little tech that we tried out for a while from the sideboard.
Okay.
Just people don't expect it. Joke that it was back to good old days of Innistrad drafting. People run into Ambush Vipers all day. For a while, it was also tested with white because we looked at Cartel Aristocrat as another sack outlet.
Sure,
in addition to the Bloodthrone Vampire, things like that. I think white still has some potential, but I think bug is more consistent color-wise, and I don't know. White could also get you face reward and stuff like that, so who knows?
Yeah, sort of a creature eggs deck basically at that point. Did you ever try out Grizzly Salvage as another way to dig guys into the yard, or is the fact that it just can't ever find a Servitude too big a deal?
Yeah, Grizzly Salvage is really bad throwing away Immortal Servitudes.
Okay.
Because they're so important. So basically, it's just getting value out of the creatures when you play them, and then getting value out of them again later when you're able to Servitude bring them back. It pretty well draws itself through the deck with the 4 Elvish Visionaries, the 4 Alchemist Apprentice, and so you find those combo pieces. So it doesn't really need the Grizzly Salvage to hit the right lands or to fill the graveyard. It gets there.
That makes sense. And once you've got a bunch of 2-drops also, it's pretty easy to cast them. Obviously, they're not very color intensive. They only could have 2.
Yep. It's nice to be able to start casting multiples of creatures. Like Skursag, High Priest is a champ. I played that back when I was playing Mono Black Zombies before rotation, and obviously we saw how strong it is with the Aristocrats deck and things like that. So you can. This isn't as fast at making demons, but it can on turn 4 if you start setting it up correctly. But yeah, only 21 lands, but it's all 2-drops, so they're easy to cast.
Yeah, and many of them cantrip, so it's even effectively less cards that aren't lands than that. Mm-hmm. I imagine Skursag High Priest is your only real alternate win condition, as it were. The demons can get there a fair bit of the time, but most of the time you're going to have to actual combo them.
Yeah, the demons are good at beating down and blocking and holding off teams. Speaking of holding off teams, the demons are great, but the Fogbanks are the champs. This is one of the best cards in the deck, for sure, and it's one of the cards that pretty well just don't side out, because it can hold back anything.
It seems really excellent in the metagame, especially that we have here. A lot of Naya aggro decks, and all they really have are Searing Spears to get through that guy.
And if they're spending that on a Fogbank, it feels pretty good.
Especially when you can just get it back with Immortal Servitude.
Yep.
So obviously, I guess we'll run through the combo real quick, because it's pretty basic. Just get a bunch of guys in play with a Bloodthrone Vampire and multiple Blood Arts, I imagine, are ideal. And then just throw them all at the opponent's face, right?
Yep.
Okay, I'm curious, how many times do you think you usually have to cast an Immortal Servitude in a game? Because it seems like, similar to Eggs and Elves, it's a combo deck that can sort of semi-combo to try and set itself up into a better position. Do you usually go for the win with the first one, or do you think it's okay to kind of soft combo and then try it again later?
I think maybe go ahead trying to soft combo if you're guaranteed another Servitude. Like if you have another one in hand, or you feel confident that you're going to be bringing back enough augurs and elvish visionaries from your graveyard that you're going to draw into another one. But that being said, like it has ways to win off of just one Mortal Servitude. It's definitely very important, but it can get there with demons, with your different sack outlets, making demons and just going over the top. A nice trick like for winning for Servitude, and unfortunately I made the mistake and missed it, but saw it after the fact, and my friend Spanky, who sees it more often than I do, where say you have a board state, sack everything to Bloodthrone Vampire, Mortal Servitude, bring it back, sack it all to Bloodthrone Vampire, and she's like a 20/20 or something.
Yeah,
like
just
that.
huge.
Yeah. So.
I imagine that the beatdown plan works pretty reasonable with the Bloodthrone Vampire.
Yep.
So why don't we shift over to the sideboard?
Sure.
So we've got some interesting ones there. We've laid it out here. You've got more spells, as you talked about. The one that we were actually most impressed by in the booth was Golgari Charm.
Yep.
Which functions as a pseudo-abrupt decay against things like,
Rest in Peace.
Rest in Peace and Detention Spheres or O-Rings. And Abrupt Decay itself obviously can take care of things like Grafdigger's Cage, which the Golgari Charm will miss out on. And then you've got a bunch of discard for these control decks. But I'm curious about the Garruk Relentless.
Yeah, that was the most recent addition to the deck. And what's good about him is he's good for like grindy matches and things like that. Sure, he can maybe fight something, but you have plenty of good targets for him to fight and flip. And then where he can really get his value is where he's flipped and you tutor up for a creature that you need to get your combo, be it another Blood Artist or your sack outlet and things like that.
Sure. That makes a lot of sense. Crypt Keeper, obviously a 2-drop that functions as graveyard removal to give you an edge against the other Unburial Rites deck. I like that. That's pretty cute.
Yeah, it's very cute.
You have one Witchbane Orb, which I found interesting because it feels like you're a little vulnerable to slaughter games.
Yep.
And I feel like I might want to run more. Did you guys try more, or do the Duresses and Appetite for Brains do most of the heavy lifting against slaughter games?
They do the heavy lifting against slaughter games. Definitely slaughter games, Rest in Peace, Witchbane Orb, those are all really tough for the deck sometimes, but those do a good job, especially if you can Appetite for Brains, you see something good. Just last night we were playing and Appetite for Brains hit a good one. Next turn, Snapcaster, Appetite for Brains, the other good one, and it was a Witchbane Orb and a Slaughter Games. And so the two cards took care of two really important threats.
That's a legacy style beat, actually, right there.
Exactly.
So now that you have a few rounds under your belt, are there any additions to the deck you think you would have made in hindsight?
I think it's pretty tuned. Like, I'm not sure. I really like it how it is. I found myself citing out similar things each time because a lot of times kind of the Alchemist Apprentice, they're nice. They provide a free blocker and a card draw and things like that.
Sure.
But they don't provide immediate value when they come in. They do provide morbid, but sometimes they kind of go when you're going to be facing like Rest in Pieces and things like that for the Abrupt Decays. But then like leaving in the combo pieces are really important.
Yeah, of course. I think you can trim some things like the Banks and maybe Apprentice, maybe even like Skurzak High Priest. But as far as like Vampires and Blood Artists, you kind of just have to keep all of those that you have.
Yeah, right.
I know there was your friend Spanky had a stream as well. Has he been playing this deck on the stream?
Yeah, Scott, aka Spanky Lip, is the original creator. Put in most of the hours on the deck. He has a stream on Twitch, Spanky_KC. It's fun to watch and fun to see him brew, and had a blast playing his really fun deck. So if you like playing fun decks also, I would sleeve it up and give it a try.
If you want to be a part of the genesis of decks like this one, I would check out his stream as well. Well, thanks for joining us, Corey. And I appreciate the plug and the deck. It's been a pleasure.
Thanks.